So I was doing a video for you about Thutmose II's tomb, the discovery that's been in the news, and I figured something out that you really have to see. It was a eureka moment for me, but it wasn't for Herodotus. All right, so what's in a name? So Thutmose means born of Thoth, or Thoth, whichever you like. He's the one who brought in writing, like all moon gods everywhere. They're the ones who teach writing, all the knowledge, measuring. Think of a hunter-gatherer society where you're relying on the full moon for a task, and then all of a sudden there's an eclipse and the light goes out. So ever since then, we've learned the path of the moon, and that path is serpentine. And Apophis, Apep, and Thoth are both prehistoric gods. Now, the current scholarship on Thoth seems to be like they have no idea why the Ibis is related to the moon, citing only the crescent shape of the beak. And, some people think it looks like a writing implement. But cats aren't the only animals that can dominate snakes. Think of the black-headedness of the Ibis and eclipses. And like if the serpent was to attack here in this scenario, who's going to fend it off? It was important who was at the front of the boat. Now, I'm going to invite AI here to rein me in because my mind wanders. But fundamentally, there's only a couple of characters that are allowed at the front of the boat. And Thoth was one of them. Usually they've got a big spear. Like this is the set animal. This is Set here doing it. I think Set was the enemy of Apophis, but Set was also responsible for eclipses at one point. The two of them, it's like fighting fire with fire. That's the idea here. But on an even more fundamental level, it's all about chaos versus order. Apep embodies chaos, and Thoth, as the embodiment of Ma'at or Mat or Mayat is what I think they actually used to say, embodies order. So it's Apep chaos versus Thoth order. And it just boils down to something that everyone had. The serpent was the watery chaos. But anyways, AI reins me in because I just want to talk about that the whole time. Like this, I just did a video about this. This comes from the previous, you can click on that link. So AI was just trying to tell us here that there's more to the front of the boat thing. There's every hour there was danger, but that boils down to even more of the whole culture is chaos versus order. But okay, so I'm going to read this thing here. So Ibis behavior and symbolism. AI is acknowledging that ibises, yes, are wading birds that consume snakes, and that in an Egyptian context, it could be interpreted as symbolic, as overcoming chaos. So, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Therefore, the ibis could be seen as a physical representation of order. Yeah, so it's just agreeing with me. See, look, while explicit textual evidence directly stating the Ibis represents Thoth's battle against Apep might be limited, the symbolic connections are certainly plausible within the context of Egyptian beliefs. I mean, come on. And then I just asked it for some references, but it didn't have any, just the quote I gave it from Herodotus. So it says the winged serpents are said to fly at the beginning of spring from Arabia, making for Egypt, but the ibis birds encounter the invaders in this pass and kill them. The Arabians say the ibis is greatly honored by the Egyptians for this service, and the Egyptians give the same reason for honoring these birds. And look, here's a winged serpent, right, on a zigzag path. And then it says here, scholars have explored how the ibis's natural behavior, including its consumption of snakes and other animals, could have contributed, but I haven't seen any papers on it. If you have, put it in the comments below because, well, if not, if there isn't one, we'll write one. You write one, we'll put both their names on it. And then it just agrees with me. In essence, while the exact extent of the ibis's snake fighting role remains open to interpretation, the historical records, particularly those of Herodotus, provide compelling evidence of this association. I like that it put snake fighting in quotes. In Mesopotamia, they had this really elaborate ritual for making bronze kettle drums, these big drums they used during eclipses. The temple had the whole ritual lined out. First of all, the black bull was a special black bull with markings on it. They would take the hide, stretch it out, and make the drum with it. But specifically here, the Apis bull was supposed to wear this. And think of the wearer as being the center of the universe because the ecliptic is the zigzags around their neck. It's a necklace, but also a noisemaker. It's a rattle, you shake it. So I guess the bull must have been wearing it. I don't know if they put it on the bull when the eclipse was happening. No, because they needed the rattle. So the rattle, the noisemaker was for during an eclipse ritual. They don't say this in literature either, but man, I know it. Look, the solar disc here, or the lunar disc, it might be lunar because this is a Hathor temple thing. The boat, I mean, it seems to be about the path through the underworld again here, even though it's a temple, not a tomb. The zigzag on the disc, I mean, look at it. So you know that it's not just water here, unless they're saying the water fizzled out the moon, but it's on the boat and it's being protected. The whole thing is, but the rattle is protection. But it's about the path of the sun. And the florets, the rosettes on here, I'll show you, that's about the apertures of the sky are open. It's new growth on the ecliptic. Remember, they called the moon fruit everywhere. All right, let me take a breath. I'm supposed to be talking about zigzags here. So the zigzag is part of Apep's name, and here you can see both styles at once. The smooth, wavy form that is suspiciously like an omega symbol, and I've always thought eclipses, well, the omega symbol is our eclipse symbol now. Well, and its waves are the way. So there's the sawtooth style here and the smooth style, but it's part of his name. And the serpent emerged from the waters at the time of creation. It's the first thing out. Always, everywhere. And it's also the monster that can take everything back to it. It'll be the last thing. It's the, when the serpent lets go of its tail, that's when the universe ends. It goes back to the watery bit. And that's like, you can't separate them. Like the watery zigzag symbol, after an eclipse, the dead sun was being created anew. That's the other thing about the rosettes. They thought both of what we're learning every time there's an eclipse, but also beyond the new knowledge, it's physically like fruit ripening, the red to some people. I know every culture has two ways to look at it. It's also the evil eye of Apep. It's the red evil eye, and the serpent eating the moon. It's all those things at once. You can't separate them. And you should also know this is all part of the Ennead. And there were two Enneads, a major one and a minor one. And if you look at every single god in each Ennead, you can tell this stuff is about lunar standstills. Not exactly. It's just the world's oldest cultural meme where at one time it was about the lunar standstills. Then they just associate the number 9 to everything. And it's just amazing that in Egypt they have a major one and a minor one. And this idea of water birds versus serpents, water birds that can control serpents, goes back to Gobekli Tepe. For more about that, click on this.